Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm reaching out to you guys live from Egypt. I decided to head over to the motherland this week, and it's been kind of crazy. I'm on a whole different schedule. My sleeping is like all over the place. I can take a nap at any moment of the day. I don't know the difference between nighttime and daytime. Right now, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning here in Egypt. I think I got to get up in about 3 hours, but I know that in your world, it's the time is more reasonable. And so, anyway, this has been an interesting trip. I've had a wonderful time. This has been extraordinary. I'll tell you guys more about it in a second. But today, I wanted to talk about a topic that came up on Twitter. I asked a question. That was sort of started. The conversation was started by the women on Fly Nubian Queen. And I thought it would be interesting to kind of do a follow-up on that conversation, particularly from the financial standpoint. And I asked that question, why are people not getting married? Why are so many people not interested in getting married at all? And so before I get into that topic, though, I'd like to ask you all, can you hear me? Give me a yes if you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me, because the Wi-Fi situation is kind of weird over here in the Middle East, and I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. I just had to call a guy upstairs to redo the electricity in my room, even though it's a very nice hotel room, and Cairo is a beautiful place. Sometimes you just have issues, right? And but it's been amazing. The people here are wonderful, and if you want to take a trip, you might want to consider going to Egypt, because everything's so cheap. Like this hotel suite that we're staying in, it literally looks like a place where King Jafar in Coming to America would have lived. I kid you not. Like, I got to take pictures. I got to send y'all pictures of this place. It's like I'm literally sitting in the dining room. It looks like the royal dining room. It's got this big gigantic table that can hold like 8 people. And the chairs look like something out of the royalty from the Middle Ages. There's art all over the walls. We've got 3 gigantic rooms, a massive living room, a massive dining room, a massive bedroom. They even got the whole boudet thing that I don't use next to the toilet, and a full kitchen and all that. And it didn't cost that much. I think it probably cost less than $200 a night or something. So, hey, if you're thinking about traveling, you may want to go to Egypt, because I hear that the Egyptian pound, in fact, from a financial standpoint, I think the Egyptian pound is much cheaper than it was in the past. So, and in fact, actually, shout out to the people in Egypt and Cairo. I looked up the average income in Egypt, and I want to say it was like $200 a month. And the average income in Cairo, which is kind of like the New York City of Egypt, was maybe $300 a month or $400 a month. So literally, if you make more than $400 a month, you might be considered like king status over here. So it's kind of an interesting reality. But anyway, Ryman Wonders asking, can I call in? There is no call-in phone number. So, I thought about sort of setting up a call-in type show, but it's too much work. I ain't no show host. I do not host a show. I do not host a podcast. I'm just a guy. I'm a scholar, a financial scientist who talks. And sometimes I talk, and there are some people who listen. Most people don't, I'm sure, but it's okay. And people that don't listen to me, that's all right. But I do have this thing called a PhD in finance. And so I know a few things. Also, financial psychology was something I studied. And also, if you want to know why this issue of love and relationships is of interest to me, I did write a book called Financial Lovemaking. And I wrote this book when I was a professor at Syracuse University. I was on the faculty there for 13 years until I left to create the Black Business School. And so this is my background. This is why these topics are of interest to me. If you want to go take a look at that book, Financial Lovemaking, feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. The URL's right there on the screen. And I wrote this book basically studying love and money from a scientific standpoint. And one thing I can tell you is that when I looked at the reasons people have for not getting married, it's kind of got money written all over it. Money is kind of everywhere. Money, whether you like it or not. This is one of the reasons why I've told you all, as Black people, if you're talking about trying to be liberated, Black people always say, we want to be free. We want to be free. Well, you can't be free in America without money, honestly. Or at the very least, if you have money, the intelligent use of money expands your access to freedom. Tell me if you agree with that. Tell me if you at least agree, even if you don't believe money can make you free automatically. Give me a yes if you at least agree that money can help. Give me a yes if you agree that the richest man in the room, in most cases, has more freedom than the poorest man in the room. Can we at least agree on that? Can we at least agree that the guy with $1 million in the bank is going to have a lot more freedom than the guy who's got $2 in the bank? And that the guy with $1 million in the bank is going to have a lot more options than the guy with no money in the bank, or the woman who is financially secure is going to have more options and freedom than the woman or the man who is not financially secure. Can we at least agree on that? Okay, so I want to agree on that broad point, so we don't get into making the minors into majors. A lot of times people will have major arguments over minor stuff. Well, money ain't everything. Money's not that important. We shouldn't worship money. Money's the root of all. Okay, I hear all that. I agree with you. We've discussed this. I talk about this every morning when we do financial consciousness training, which, by the way, you can join for free. I'll tell you guys how to join if you want to. But we can at least agree on the broader point that the person who has financial security is typically freer. They have more options than people who don't. And I teach stock options on a regular basis. And this is something that this is how I view options. I don't look at stock options as the way everybody else does, because I had to do mathematical derivations of how stock options work. I understand the deep-seated mathematics and statistical analysis underlying the construct of the financial infrastructure that creates the entire options market. And at the end of the day, I can tell you, when you break it down to the simple stuff, basically it says that you're better off when you have options than when you don't. Can I get an amen? Give me an amen if you agree that having options is a good thing. Give me a yes if you agree that that options matter and that options are linked to freedom. So when you talk to me about this complex issue, which I'm going to address I'm going to address a lot of your comments because I feel like this is a worthy conversation. I'm looking at it more so just from this idea that inherently marriage is a complex conversation, because the decision to get married to some extent takes away at least a couple of options that you might have had when you were single. A lot of single people know what I'm talking about. For example, when you're married, there is an expectation that you're going to tell your spouse where you went last night. Right? And so that means you don't have the option of just going out and doing whatever you want with whoever you want and having nobody ask you any questions. You can't say, well, it's none of your damn business. Your marriage won't last long if that's your attitude. So with marriage comes expectations, and with expectations comes, to some extent, a relinquishment of options. You have to let go of some of your options. That option to do whatever you want, that kind of goes out the window. So here's the thing about options that's interesting too. If you're interested in things like stock options, I think this actually provides an appropriate framework to help us really even understand marriage. One of the first things that we learned when I was getting my PhD, when we learned about stock options, the first thing we learned about options is a very simple idea. Now, you can write this down if you want to, or I want you to meditate on this. The first thing they told us about options is that an option can never have a negative value. Now, what does that mean? Now, it doesn't mean it's going to have a positive value. It doesn't mean that having the option is going to benefit you. But what the first fundamental mathematical assumption of an option is that an option can never have a negative value. It must have a non-negative value. Now, non-negative means not negative. It doesn't mean positive. It means it could be zero. It could have no value. So what effectively must occur, pay attention now, and this happens actually in stock options markets, but it's true for any option. It's even marriage. Marriage is the relinquishing an option. In order for you, follow me now, let me know if you follow me. In order for you to let go of an option, you should be compensated for letting that option go. In order for you to constrain yourself on any level, whatever it is, there has to be some sort of incentive there. There has to be something, some pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There has to be some compensation of some sort that makes you say, I'm giving up this option, but I'm okay letting this option go because I got compensated for giving up the option that I'm releasing. And so when we get married, the fundamental trade-off that is occurring, in my opinion, this is just me talking as a 53-year-old black man. Now, in case you want to know, I am married. It's funny. A lot of people have a lot to say about marriage, but ain't never done it. They have a lot to say about relationships, but don't have much experience, at least not in a positive way. Or have a lot to say about black women, but ain't never married one. Have a lot to say about who you should marry, but they've never done it themselves. And I think that that's important to kind of think about. So if you want to know my background, yeah, I'm a married man, and I love black women. You know, I mentioned to you guys years ago, I said, I don't know if I'm going to get married, but if I do, I'm going to marry a black woman, period. That's it. You know, so anyway, with that said, the fundamental rule of options is that if you give up an option, you have to be compensated. So that means there has to be something that makes you say, okay, you know what? I don't want to be a player no more. I used to live the fast life. Maybe I lived the city girl life or whatever life you had before. I used to do what I want whenever I wanted with whoever I wanted. I'm letting all that go because there's a benefit. Just like when you get up to and you go to work every morning, you're giving up the option of sleeping in. You're giving up the option of going to the movies. You're giving up the option of hanging out with your kids. And in order for you to give up that option, you have to be compensated. Like if your boss said, I want you to come to work every day and I'm not going to pay you any money at all but I'm going to make you spend the whole day doing a terrible job that you would never want to do. Nobody would take that job. Nobody would take the job if somebody said, I want you to come to work every day and I want you to shovel dog crap and instead of doing the things you love, and I'm not going to compensate you at all. Nobody would ever consider that. But if someone says, I'm going to give you $1 million a week to shovel dog crap, then all of y'all will be applying for that job. All of y'all would be jumping at that job. Most of us would be. I know I would. I'd take $1 million a week to shovel dog crap. So my point is to say that generally speaking, when I look at relationships and marriage, and I want to get to some of the comments you all made because I thought they were really interesting. I think about that's how I process things. That's how I process the world. If it sounds weird, yeah, that's because I'm a weirdo. But you know what? When you have gone as I have, you become weird. You start to see things differently from other people, and so there are two camps of people that listen to me talk. There are the people that say, "Huh, that was different from what I would have expected. I wonder where he's coming from." And then there are the people who say, "You stupid. You be hating. You dumb. They're stupid, man." I'm like, okay, I know. I'm not trying to, disrespect you and your GED or your bachelor's degree or whatever. I respect all of that 100%. But I'm sorry. I had more education by the age of 25 than most people accomplish in their whole life. And now I'm 53 years old. So I see things different. It doesn't mean your point is not valid. It does not mean you don't have a meaningful perspective that I can learn from. It just means that, yeah, I'm going to see some stuff a little bit different. So here's what I'm going to kind of break down. And I hope that this is helpful to you. I hope that some of you can benefit from this, because here's the deal. Another reason I love to talk about relationships and marriage is because I like to talk about investing. Investing is something I studied extensively, in grad school and all that stuff. And I can tell you, there's no financial investment you'll ever make in your life that's bigger than the investment you're going to make when you get married. Marriage, for the most part, is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make in your life. It's one of the biggest investments that you'll ever choose. And it's not an investment to be taken lightly. It's an investment that can be very costly if it goes bad. It's an investment that some people regret. It's an investment that becomes entangled with all these emotions and everything else. It's an investment that's entangled not just with your emotionality, but also peer pressure. Give me a guess if you notice that. Has anybody seen that? Give me a guess if you feel like, when you had a relationship and the relationship's been going on for a couple of years, you start to feel pressure. You start to hear people, why don't you get married? When you get married, you going to marry that girl? You going to marry that man? Why don't you marry him? Did you find a good man to marry? Why aren't you going to get married? I knew this lady who was getting her PhD, and she was super smart, and she'd won all these awards, and she was doing this great research. And she would go home. She was from the South. She would go home, and every time she went home, nobody cared about her PhD. Nobody cared about her research she was doing. Nobody cared that she won an award. All that she would get asked is, well, did you meet somebody yet? Did you meet a man yet? And I remember how she used to complain about that. And I think that that's kind of what we're dealing with, right? That there's a lot of pressure, and I think that pressure is inappropriate. I'm going to just tell you right out, point blank, period. If you're smart about your own life, you will not let other people pressure you into living the life that they think you need to live. If you're smart about your own life, the best decision you can make, in my opinion, is to live the life you want to live, because you got to live in that. Somebody telling you how to live your life is like them telling you what outfit to wear that day. They're not wearing the outfit. That's not that you're wearing the outfit. So they tell you to wear a fur coat in 100-degree heat. I'm right here in Cairo. Maybe that's why I'm thinking about heat. It was 107 degrees today. So if I go out in 107-degree heat in Cairo and somebody says, "Hey, doc, you need to wear this fur coat," and I'm enough of a sucker that I'm gonna listen to them. So I'm putting on the fur coat and I'm going out in 107-degree heat. They sitting in the air condition talking shit, and I'm going out in 107-degree heat. Well, then I'm gonna suffer because I let other people make a choice that should have been mine. I'm gonna suffer because I didn't understand that it's my body, my choice. I'm gonna suffer because they get to sit back in the peanut gallery and talk shit and tell me what to do, but they're not the one actually in it. And this happens all the time. I mean, I see this all the time. Even with what I do, I hear a lot of people making comments about how I need to do what I'm going to do, how I'm supposed to live my life, what I'm supposed to say, and all. I'm like, you ain't in it, man. You're not in it. This is not your life. You can give me advice. I love advice. Advice is great, but I do not deal well with ultimatums. I do not deal well with commands coming from other people. Mandates are not appropriate. So don't let anybody make mandates about your life. But I think that at the same time, you have to mandate this thing in your life called common sense. And what I see is a lot of big mistakes being made because we let common sense go. And I can tell you during my time in Egypt this week, one thing I've just been reminded of extensively is that for African American people, I'm just going to tell you the truth. You have a garbage culture. I'm sorry, not every part of it's garbage, not every piece of it. Some of it, black girl magic, black men, can be kings and all these things. But Lord Jesus, they have just sold and packaged you a garbage ass, nasty ass, sloppy ass, irresponsible, broken, dysfunctional, horrible BET culture, created by these raggedy people that own these TV networks that don't even look like you. They've literally taken a big bowl of monkey shit and pulled it together and made it look like a birthday cake. And they put a candle on it and you blew it out and you put your face right inside this birthday cake and you're eating it and you love it because they put some sugar on top of it. So you're eating a big bowl of monkey shit shaped like a birthday cake. And you're like, this is the culture, y'all. This is the culture. Doc, you ain't with the culture. This event. We need to have an event for the culture. I'm like, that ain't culture. That's monkey shit. That's not birthday cake, dude. That's what are you eating? Did you even ask about what ingredients are in that? Seriously, man, like you, that's nasty, man. Your face is covered with doo-doo. But you think you're looking fly. You think you're cool. And why do you think you're cool? Well, because you've learned to worship people like rappers. Their faces are covered with doo-doo. So you say, I need to have my face covered with doo-doo too. And I'm sorry, man. I'm just telling you the honest to God truth. The culture that they promote to us should be deeply offensive to anybody who has a lick of common sense and a lick of human decency. The culture when they have BET and they show you, twerking baby mamas who are 6 months pregnant, shaking ass on stage with a cigarette in one hand, a liquor bottle in the other, 8,000 tattoos on their body, and they make you think that's the culture. That's not your culture. And the thing that's interesting is, I was thinking about that today because I saw, does anybody know, give me a yes if you know about Blueface and Chrisean Rock. Does anybody know about Blueface and Chrisean Rock? And my wife, actually, who's an expert in fetal alcohol syndrome, I think she and I'm not going to speak for her, but I'm going to say I think that she'd probably agree with me. We're strongly suspicious that perhaps their baby has fetal alcohol syndrome. He shows a lot of symptoms in terms of his facial features and all that. A lot of people don't know that fetal alcohol syndrome has disrupted the cognitive abilities of millions of our children. A lot of people don't know that if a woman gets pregnant, and you know how women get pregnant, they don't know they're pregnant for, sometimes for 6 weeks or so. And if they're living that city girl life, they're out drinking. Well, what you're doing is you're poisoning your baby. That's what's really happening. And a lot of people don't want to hear it. But my wife did go on Tasha K, and she mentioned she wondered that about Cardi B, and Cardi got very upset. Cardi sent my wife an Instagram message the next morning, basically acting like she was going to follow up with her lawyers. She never did. Maybe she will. I have no idea. But this is something that I think everyone should know about. So the reality is, so anyway, let's go back to Blueface and Chrisean Rock. I don't want to keep on going on these tangents, but Blueface and Chrisean Rock were interesting to me because if you remember Bobby and Whitney, if you remember how Bobby and Whitney had that slow spiral and everybody saw it, it was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Like you knew that the Bobby Whitney debacle was going to end in either death or incarceration, which they kind of experienced all of that. Whitney died, her daughter died. I think the boyfriend of the daughter did he die too? I think he died. A lot of death, a lot of sadness, a lot of pain that comes from drugs and devastation. So Bobby Brown's gone through a lot. Well, Chrisean Rock and Blueface remind me of the modern day Bobby and Whitney. There were some drugs around. There was a lot of shenanigans, a lot of unhealthy behavior that was allegedly part of quote unquote the culture. They was being celebrated. They were on, tabloids. They were all over the internet. Shade Room would have them up there every other day. So what happens is that, this is how they put the sugar in the monkey shit. If you remember the analogy earlier where I said they give you a birthday cake, but it's really monkey shit. And so you put your face on the birthday cake thinking you're eating cake, but you're really eating monkey shit. But it tastes okay because they put a lot of sugar in it. Well, that's kind of what I see when I see the culture, right? So you have two significantly psychologically unhealthy people in this horrifically toxic, terrible relationship that both of these individuals are showing significant signs of mental psychological instability, fueled by drugs, just irresponsible, unhealthy behavior. First time I ever heard about Blueface was when he told me that he'd had sex with 3,000 women. I think it was like 2,000 or 3,000 women. And that tells me about the STD rates in the Black community, why they're out of control. And it makes me wonder not just why he would do something like that, but also why he would then announce it to the world, and then also why women would want to sleep with him. And the reason the women slept with him is because he was famous. And so this is where things like money and fame and power can be highly deceptive. These are the devil's tools to get you to make decisions that are not good for you. The devil can bless you too, as my friend D1 likes to say. So when the devil blesses you with money and fame and fortune, but he's putting sugar in the monkey shit. It's sugar in the monkey shit because what happens is that you have people like Blueface and Chrisean Rock who think that they're doing well because they're famous. They go to the little children they poison the minds of the kids, and they say, if you work hard, one day you can be like me. And I'm thinking, like what? Like what is it? What would you want them to be addicted to drugs like you? Do you want them to be alcoholics like you? Do you want them to be in jail like you? Because I think that right now Blueface and Chrisean Rock are both in jail. And so that's where the monkey shit part shows up. That the whole time you thought you were doing well because you were famous and you knew celebrities and you were on the Shade Room every week and on TV and making money. But really, you'd made a deal with the devil because all of that was leading you to a path that was going to create nothing but misery and self-destruction. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is something that I hope people get. I hope I'm really kind of trying to be a voice in the woods on this because I can tell you I get a lot of pushback. I'd like for you to tell me, to validate some of this, that you see what I see, because I get a lot of pushback from people who say, Doc, we need you to be more relevant to the youth. I say, well, I talk to young people all the time. I have a ton of young people I mentor. Well, you need to be with the culture. I'm like, I can't be with the culture because the culture is killing them. Why would I, how can I claim to be an advocate for you when I'm supporting something that is openly destroying you, that's killing you in broad daylight? That doesn't make any sense. When I grew up, I didn't have parents that were trying to be one of your little friends. The elders in the community are not trying to fit into a sloppy, irresponsible, self-destructive culture that's being pushed by a bunch of 25-year-olds. The elders were the ones who said, this is stupid. What are you doing? You're destroying your life. So the reason I bring up this whole thing about the culture is because you can't talk about marriage in the Black community without talking about culture. You can't talk about marriage without talking about culture. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying. You can't. The culture shapes how you view marriage, whether or not you want to do it, how you do it, how you approach it. And I just, in my view, I just see mistakes everywhere, especially when I come to a place like Egypt, where they're not perfect, but they understand family. You come to Egypt, they understand. I talked to some brothers from Egypt today, and I said, it's interesting. Tell me what it's like, in terms of how as an Egyptian you're trained to deal with people that you know and you care about. And he was telling me, he said, well, if you come to my neighborhood, I'm responsible for you. I am my brother's keeper. My job is to make sure that you're safe and you're okay. If you need something, he said, if the village knows that you need money to do something, they will come together and pull the money together to help you. If you get married and you have children, then you have a certain responsibility as a man. The man is the leader, the advisor, the elder, the person that gets the respect. The women are protected and loved and all these other, right? So again, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. It's not perfect by any stretch, but there's sort of a code of behavior. There's a code of conduct There's a discipline attached to things like family. So here's my first conclusion on this whole concept of whether or not people are getting married and why, is that if you're not prepared to be disciplined on some level, then you're probably not going to be a good fit for marriage. And the reality is that you have an undisciplined society. You have a lot of addictions out here, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but you have addictions, and by men and women. Don't just put this on the men. You have addictions. You have a lot of ideas in politics that interfere with the ability of the man and the woman to live in harmony. You have a culture that really just says, why would you be disciplined and why would you make yourself uncomfortable when you could just be happy and have fun all the time? Why think about the future when the present is right in front of you and that's all you have to live for? So anyway, before I move on, do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I do have a book called Financial Lovemaking. If you'd like to get a copy, you can go to drboycebooks.com. And then also I want to let everybody know that in the Black Business School, we believe deeply in that wealth is the key to Black power, and that everyone should be an investor. So one thing that we did was we created the Black Investors Championships, where we're literally looking to see who is the best Black investor in the world. So we're holding the Black Investors Championships and the winner will receive the Black Investors Cup. And that starts, the competition starts on August 19th. Everybody gets $50,000. Everyone gets to then buy stocks. We have a leaderboard, and the leader, the person with the most money at the end after 6 weeks, is the winner. So if you'd like to participate in the competition, you can go to blackinvestorscup.com. That's blackinvestorscup.com. Also, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you look up my name on Spotify, you'll find it there. All right, so let's get back to this topic, in terms of marriage and my thoughts on some of the reasons why people might are hesitant to do it. I put the comment up on my Instagram, on my Twitter and my Instagram to see what people said. And I'm gonna read some of your comments. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. If you want to join the conversation. Sorry, that's my Twitter. I apologize. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and the number 1. So here's some comments. I'm gonna read them to you, and then we can kind of break them down. Nichelle says men haven't accepted the fact that they have to be likable to women now. They make their own money now, women do, so they don't have to be mentally, financially, physically, or emotionally abused anymore by men if they don't want to be. Those who keep mentioning feminism. Now, I'm not going to say that Nichelle is wrong, but what I am going to say is that the problem with her comment right off the bat is that she's blaming men, and that to me is not productive. I don't think that you can create a collaborative negotiation if no one is willing to take accountability for their role in the process. So for her to just simply put all this on top of men is fundamentally unfair, but it doesn't mean that she's completely incorrect. I think that she is right. Women have changed. Women have money now. Women are able to do a lot more than they could before. They are getting highly educated. Black women are super highly educated. Black women are not as passive as they used to be. They have things to say and stuff like that. And then that is a delicate dance. That requires a lot of training in terms of how to deal with that, right? And letting people kind of be who they want to be, while at the same time not letting that interfere with who you're going to be. So that does take work. And also what I have found, just to be quite honest with you, is that the big problem I believe Black women have is that they have trouble. Most women have trouble being with a man who is less than them in some critical area. Like, for example, a lot of women won't necessarily be interested in a man who's shorter than them. And I believe that's biological. I don't think that is because they're being picky. I think that just height matters. I don't think a lot of women are comfortable being with a man who is physically weaker than they are. I think most women are more comfortable with a man who's a little smarter than them, that they can learn from. I think most women are comfortable with a man who makes a little more money than they do. So one way that Massa has disrupted the Black family is that he's embraced the Black woman financially in ways that he will never embrace the Black male. Let me know if you know what I'm saying. He embraces the Black female in his corp. He'll say, hey, you can come work for me in my corporation. I'll make you my right-hand person. I'll make you a senior executive. I'll let you into this space, but your husband can't come. Your husband has to stay outside. I remember one time, just a real life story. I had a friend who was a director in L.A. and she got this amazing opportunity. This old rich Jewish man approached her and said, "I have a studio. I've spent $10 million building a studio, and I need somebody to run my studio." And he offered her a six-figure salary, and he said it's going to require relocation. And so she's super excited. She can't wait to. She's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! This is a great opportunity." Blah 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 blah. Well, the challenge was that as she's considering this opportunity, she also had a baby daddy, and her baby daddy, they had a child together, and she wanted the father to be with his daughter. She did not want to pick up his daughter and just go across the country and disrupt their relationship. Now, here's the thing. Okay, follow me now. The baby daddy had skill. He was a good man. He was a smart man. He could add value to the projects they were working on. They were in the same profession. So she goes to this guy and she brings her child's father along for this meeting. He asked to have a dinner meeting with her. She brings him. He didn't ask her to bring him, but she did. And she says, "Hey, I want you to meet him. He's very, very good at this, this, and this. And I believe he can really add value to what we're trying to do with this studio." And basically, the man said, "I wanted to hire you. I don't want to hire him. I don't want him. I didn't ask for him. I asked for you." So she had to turn the opportunity down because this, like many situations that happen, in the world, was yet another scenario where the white man's always going to be more receptive to the black woman next to him than he is to a black man being next to him. And what this speaks to. Now, remember, I'm solution oriented. I believe in solutions. The solution is that if you have a black boy, let me know if you hear me. Give me a yes if y'all can still hear me. I want to make sure you're getting this. If you have a black boy, you need to prepare him for the fact that this economy does not treat black males the way it treats everybody else. You need to make sure your black boy understands that black men are the most unemployed people in our society. And I'm only talking to certain people who get it. People who don't understand it, whatever, to hell with them. They can go away. Black boys and black men are not welcome in this white man's economy. They are not. When your black boy and I see it all the time. Remember, I'm an economist. I'm a finance professor. I see stuff. I see so many men who are depressed because they can't get the job they deserve. They're depressed because they can't get the promotion that they should have gotten. They're depressed because they're not making the money that they should be making. And then what they'll do is when you get into this economy and you're a one-trick pony and all you know how to do is seek a job and you don't know anything about other ways to make money, then they just throw you to the side, and then you throw yourself to the side and you become a waste product in our society. And when society treats you like a waste product because y'all so hell-bent on what white people think about you, that defines your self-esteem, then you start to treat yourself like you're a waste product in society. So then what happens is that man, because he says, "Gosh, I'm sad. I don't have anything to do. I can't go to work. So I might as well sit around and do things that men do when they're bored. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. So now that I'm sitting at home all day while my woman's at work, I might as well smoke some weed to relieve all this stress. And after that, I'm gonna drink some liquor. And then after that, maybe I'll pop some pills. And then after that, maybe I'll get some other addictions, maybe a porn addiction or something like that, right? And next thing you know, you've got this person who isn't quite helpful or productive for other people. And what you got to understand is that what happened to this man and the reason he's slowly killing himself is because he's lost his sense of purpose. He's lost his purpose. A man with no purpose is a very dangerous man. A man with no purpose is a waste product in our families. I've seen this. I remember going to a friend's house one time, and there was this, her brother was, he had some addictions. He was in and out of jail. He had some babies mamas, of course, because sex was another addiction. And he just kind of lived in the basement. And I remember thinking, like, what? I said, so what does he do? Does he help pay any bills? Well, no, he can't. He's having a hard time right now. Okay, well, where does he add value to the household? Well, no, he just sits down in the basement and just does only God knows what down in the basement. And I said, but he's 29 years old. He shouldn't be just sitting down in the basement doing nothing. There's something you can do. And the thing is that having a purpose and adding value a lot of that really comes down to self-esteem. If you have good self-esteem, then you add value. You'll say, I'm a valuable person. I have something to add. So, for example, I know I have a PhD in finance. I'm a finance professor. So if you say I'm trying to understand economics, I say, oh, I can help with that. So what you got to really understand is what they've done to your men. Society does not want a black boy to grow up and become a black man. Tell me if you've noticed this. Society doesn't want the black boy to grow up to be a black man. And the Democratic Party don't want the black boy to grow up to be a black man. That's why they're so mad at black men right now, because they're starting to speak and use their voice and share political perspectives that are basically asking, like, okay, where's the quid pro quo? What's in it for us? You're telling us to go vote for Kamala with her white husband? Well, y'all wouldn't have voted for Barack if he had a white wife. If Barack was married to Becky Obama, y'all wouldn't be supporting him. So why the hell you expect us to support a woman who's clearly rejected us most of her life? You vote for who the hell you want to, but the reality is that men have a point, and people don't listen to men. They say, "Oh, just shut up and vote. Just shut up and do what you say. Do what you're told." That's nothing but a repeat of what some of these men saw in their household with their mama. Just shut up and do what I tell you. So this is dysfunctional. It's really, really awkward. And unfortunately, what I observe, and again, I'm not perfect with my perspective. Some of my stuff may be off, and it's okay to disagree with me. But I really just believe that when you have men that kind of feel this way, and then you're like, oh, but I need you to be I need you to go ahead and make this commitment and get married and do all these other things. I think a lot of men just walk away from it. They said, no, I'm not only am I worthless to myself, I'm worthless to you. And also I'm a nuisance to everyone. So I'm just going to go over here and just live my life. I'm going to be a renegade. I'm going to go into situations that make me feel good. I'm not interested in taking responsibility for something where I have no power, no control, and no respect. So anyway, let me keep going here. Let me read the next comment. So again, though, it doesn't mean the men are perfect. We know this, right? We know these things. But I think that these conversations are not being had. And I think that they should be had. I think that as black people, I think we need to stop having these conversations that are only sanctioned by white people. The only conversations black people have, CNN will market a police killing right before an election just to get us triggered and scared. And then suddenly we're talking about the police shooting. And I'll be like, but 47 people got shot in Chicago last weekend. Y'all wasn't talking about that. What about the other 47 people who got shot? You're only talking about that one person? Oh, I get it. You're doing it because white folks told you to have that conversation. Anyway, let me keep going. Do me a favor. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. This podcast is on Spotify. So you can look up my name on Spotify. You can find me there. Also, every morning we do financial consciousness training. I have a free financial class that anybody can join. And so if you'd like to participate, all you have to do is text the word morning to 87948. It's called Money in the Morning, and I do this 7 days a week. Now, those of you that are in Money in the Morning, I have to apologize because I'm traveling to Egypt right now. The time change has just kicked me in the butt, so I haven't been able to make class this week. I went ahead and decided to cancel for the week because I'm just kind of moving around and stuff. But once I get back, we're going to get back to our 7 day a week schedule. And I believe that economics is the most important aspect of black freedom, that if you want to be black and you want to be free, you got to have economics in your toolkit. So my contribution as a finance professor is I do this class for free every day because I want us to be extreme about solving our own problems. So if you want to join us, text the word morning to 87948. Or if you live in another country, you can go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. Okay, so let me read the next comment here. The next comment is from this is on my Twitter, which is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. Smart Tourist says, I don't plan on doing anything based on society standards. Plus, every day I see more reasons to not be married than to do it. No man was ever growing up playing with toys or whatever he had and was like, I can't wait to grow up and get married. That's a woman's dream. Men only get married to please their women. Women who don't really have a logical reason to get married other than the status symbol of what a ring represents. They don't care about the relationships. That's why 80% of the time it's a woman applying for divorce when she begged you to get the ring. That's interesting, right? I'm going to beg you to do something, and then when you don't do it right, I'm going to use you as my excuse to end the relationship. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people really get devastated by divorce. Divorce is hard. It's financially draining. It's emotionally draining, and we hear a lot of the stories from women in terms of what they went through. I was abused. I was mistreated. I was neglected, but you don't really hear about the men. You don't hear about the trauma that men experience, from losing their families and stuff like that. And then what will happen is that someone will say, well, if you didn't want to have that happen to you, then you should have acted right, or you shouldn't have cheated, you shouldn't have did this, you shouldn't have did that, you shouldn't, and I get all that, I hear that. But the thing is that if that was a woman complaining about something that she went through, somebody might call that victim blaming, right? And I think that when you talk about the pain that I've seen in the faces of some men when they're sitting there devastated because they lost their family and they did their absolute best. Other men see this. That's just the reality. Other men see what men have gone through and they say, God, I don't want to go through that because I don't want to be victimized in the same way. And I know that there's two sides to every story. And I think sometimes we forget that, though. So like every time I hear a woman talk about how she was emotionally abused, I think to myself, I really would love to talk to your ex-husband to understand what his perspective is. And I don't think that we do enough of that. And I wish that we did. Charles Cole III. Okay, I think, is that Dr. Cole? Okay, smart guy. He says, honestly, I just plain don't want to. I went to a bunch of weddings and all those ended poorly with them arguing about kids and finances. It's crazy watching so many people that love each other devolve into hatred, bitterness, and custody battles. I am truly good. If that's the Dr. Cole that I know about, he's a smart man. Yeah, I know Dr. Charles Cole. He's a good brother. I didn't know he made a comment on this post. I respect him. And so what Dr. Cole is referring to that's interesting to me is something that I think everyone should consider, whatever decision you make in this in this relationship thing, is that I believe that every person you pick to be with is a reflection of you. Like, if I really want to look in the mirror, I realized this through meditating on this. I realized that by looking at all my exes, I was really looking at myself. I was seeing how I changed throughout the years. I was seeing where my strengths were. I saw where my weaknesses were. I saw myself through the relationships I chose. And so one thing I realized, and maybe I don't know, maybe some people are gonna think this is too high level of a conversation. I have no idea, but um, one thing I believe is that when you talk about your ex, you got to be really careful, because when you talk about your ex, I hate my ex, they're this, they're that, they're a narcissist, they're corrupt, they're criminal, they're whatever. You're kind of talking about yourself. Whenever you talk about your ex, you're really talking about yourself. Because the logical person, spend 10 hours telling them about how your last three boyfriends or your last three girlfriends are all terrible people, a logical person is going to say, gosh, what's broken inside of you that makes you consistently put yourself in these situations, or what's happening inside of you that's leading to this consistency in the narratives that you are sharing about your relationships. Something's going on. It's almost like if somebody's in a job interview. Pay attention now. It's like if somebody is in a job interview and you say, well, tell me about your last three employment situations. Tell me about your last three jobs that you had. And in every situation, all they do is they say, well, in this case, they were robbing me, they were stealing from me. And this company, they were treating us bad, they were doing us dirty. And in this other company, I just had to quit because they was making us work too hard. Is an employer going to want to hire you if every story ended tragically like that? How are they? How do you think they're going to feel? Do you think they're going to say, "Oh, wow, well, we're going to be the one company that's going to treat you well. We're going to be the ones who save you from all the abuse that you've experienced from all these other companies," right? No, they're not. They're not gonna do that. They're going to say, "Okay, something's happening here. There's a pattern here." So that's what once I realized that, I said, "Man, I got to be really careful about how I talk about my exes, because when I talk about my exes, I'm really talking about Boyce." And I don't want to go out here saying horrible things about Boyce. So I have to just say, it ended and we didn't get along, but I wish her the best. And I appreciate the experience. And that's it. So anyway, so what Dr. Cole said is really interesting when he talks about, and this is something that really fascinated me. This is what made me write the book Financial Lovemaking, because I started researching love to understand how this could happen. He talks about how it's fascinating to watch two people who love each other to the ends of the earth. Like, that's my woman. I'll fight you for my woman. That's my man. Don't you say nothing about my man. Like, I love my man. I'll die for my man. Right. And then a year later, that person that you love so much, that person that you thought was better than sliced chicken, is suddenly like the worst person in the world. Like you're putting a big emotional weight on the people around you, because they're like, wait a minute. First, you were lobbying to try to get me to like this guy. Now you're lobbying to get me to do a complete U-turn on my perspective. And I get it. I know things change, right? You meet people and you see, a different side of them over time. And I wonder, I used to wonder, I said, why don't people sort of realize that what you know about a person is tiny compared to what you don't know? That and then what you don't know is tiny compared to what you don't know. And that people change and that things get revealed. So first thing I remember thinking is, I said, okay, first thing I think is, maybe we should spend more time getting to know people before we jump in bed with them. How about that? How about this? This is coming from the garbage culture. Remember I was telling you earlier how they feed you monkey shit with sugar on it and you think it is birthday cake and they call it black culture. So maybe, maybe one artifact of this monkey shit culture is that everybody is all, traumatized and literally self-medicating through irresponsible sex. How about that? How about we consider the fact that everybody is running around thinking, because they saw it on BET, that if you like somebody and you vibe with them, you're supposed to have sex with them within 48 hours. How about that being a problem, in that we don't really understand that God designed the sexual process to literally be a bonding activity like no other, that it's literally a drug in your brain that is going to wire and connect you spiritually and psychologically to that person in ways that you cannot even imagine. But no, we just think it's about the orgasm. Girl, he got a big blankety blank. Man, you see that ass on that girl, dog? Man, I had to hit that. I'm like, what? You had to hit that? Who told you that just because she's cute, you're supposed to go risk catching every STD in the book because you met her and 2 hours later, she's offering you sex and she's done this 3,000 times before, and you're not even thinking about the consequences of this. You're literally following the monkey shit culture that's told you that if she looks good and she offers it to you, you're supposed to go hit that. Okay, but you go do that. You go do that. And I'm going to just sit and wonder how the consequences pile up on you. And I just personally think that we don't process these. We don't have these conversations. So you're playing with God. You're out here sleeping with everything. You're putting yourself in all these situations, trying to wire in and connect with these people where you don't even know what the hell they're bringing into your space, what kind of spiritual, psychological, and physical STDs they're bringing into your life, or the financial STDs that they're bringing into your life. You're not even noticing it. Because why? Well, because you've been deceived. The devil can bless you too. You've been deceived in the sense that you think that because he's handsome, that this could be the one, or you think because she's beautiful that this is a person you need to let into your space in that way. So then a year later, you're running around trying to tell everybody that the person who was the girl of your dreams is really a witch in disguise, or the man that you thought was so amazing 6 months ago was really a terrible narcissistic turd. And I'm just sitting here looking at you like, wow, you really have to do some self-reflection. You gotta have I told you about things like meditation? Have you ever like really sat back and thought about what it really means to be conscious? When I use the word consciousness means a lot to me. Consciousness means so many things. And I talk to you guys every morning. We do financial consciousness classes. I said, I get it. I know why we waste all our money. I know why Black people are broke, because you're not financially conscious. A person who's unconscious can easily be victimized. A person who's unconscious isn't thinking long-term. They're thinking short-term. A person who's unconscious isn't being proactive. They're going to be reactive. And so one thing about your monkey shit culture that they promote to you on BET is that what they're really doing is they're teaching you how to be an unconscious, dumb motherfucker who goes around through life making one dumb decision after another, creating problems in your life, and then you run and tell everybody how victimized you are by the world. That's what the monkey shit culture does to you. Black victimization is probably at the highest heights that it's been in the history of the Black community on earth. Like, I don't think there's been any Black civilization going back 25,000 years ago to the ancient kingdoms of Kush and stuff, and the Nubian emperors. There's never been a Black culture that has been so hell-bent on victimization. And the victimization comes from the monkey shit culture that's been sold to you by your colonizers. Your colonizers are teaching you how to basically spend your life behaving like an ignorant child. That's what I see. That's just what I see. So honestly, I think I will say for sure that marriage and family is not really for children. Children can't really head a household. And so one of the biggest problems you have for and I'm talking to mature women out here only, smart women only. One of the biggest problems you have out here is that um a lot of your men are just 45-year-old teenagers. A lot of your men are bearded babies. And they show they look like this sexy muscle bound man on the outside. He might grow a beard to make you think he's more masculine because apparently people think beards mean something, and so you fall for that. But really, you're marrying an infant who doesn't know the first thing about discipline or responsibility. But then here's the problem, though: you can't point the finger completely at him. You can't act like you ain't got nothing to do with it because y'all know as well as I do that most of these men were raised by black women. So you're raising little boys and throwing them out into the dating pool, and then you're complaining about the fact that so many women end up dating little boys. But these little boys were raised by black women just like you. So as much as you might want to say black men are harming you, really it's actually you harming you. That's really because we're an ecosystem. We're a community. I can't blame things on black women without also blaming things on myself. I can't sit here and say, well, black women are this and black women are that, which they can be for sure. And again, if I was to make a comment for the intelligent black men in the group, the decent black men in the group, the quality men in the group, not the turds. I'm talking about the men who really are trying to be the best you can be. Is that one of the problems you have is that you're running into women who don't know the first fucking thing about what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be an appropriate human being. You literally are in a society where a lot of your women have been eating monkey shit culture for the last 20 years. They were raised by some strong black woman who don't need no man. And they were taught by society that black men are garbage and that black women are all, queens that are slaying every single day and perfect in every way. And the men are flawed. And that the reason that they have their problems in their life is because some man created them, starting with their father. And so sometimes some of the women you meet, and I'm talking to the good black men now. These are the types of brothers I hang out with. Like I'm in Egypt. There's a lot of black men here with me in Egypt. And every one of these men I talk to, and these men are quality men. These men are husbands, they are fathers, they are soldiers, they are businessmen, they are intellectuals. We formed a men's circle while we were here, and we had a really deep spiritual conversation about leadership of men. One of them is a kung fu master with a 5th-degree black belt. So these are quality men. These are the types of men that I end up hanging out with, and I respect these guys. And so the quality men, you run into low quality women because I think society is designing low quality women and throwing them into the dating pool. And you can't really see all that because she got a nice booty or whatever. But, when I see Megan Thee Stallion twerking at a Kamala Harris convention, it makes me think like, oh, wow, this is so interesting that everybody just really thinks this is womanhood, that everybody's got to be twerking. Everybody's got to basically embrace stripper culture. Like hip hop, the leading artist in the black community in your monkey shit culture. That's what I'm gonna start calling it, monkey shit culture. In the monkey shit culture promoted on BET, your leading artists in the hip hop community are basically former strippers who learned how to rap. That's it. They're literally rapping strippers. And this is what and people think, oh, well, they're being sexually liberated and my body, my choice, and so I'm gonna get 14 abortions and it's not a big deal, and whatever. You as a man have no right to say anything about that, right? And so at the end of the day, I think that this is what you're dealing with. So here's one thing I believe. I'm gonna say this right here clearly is if you're really trying to talk about linking up with other people, I'm not even really going to talk about marriage. I mean, you can get married if you want to. I'm not here to sing the glories of it, nor am I here to say it's terrible and negative. Marriage is like anything else. Marriage is like driving a car. A car can be a wonderful thing to have in your life, but if you don't drive the damn thing right, it's going to kill you. So some people don't need to have a car. Some people need to walk. Okay. So marriage is powerful. Family is powerful. If you do it right, it can really benefit you. It can really elevate you. But if you do it wrong, it can crash and burn on you and scar you for life. So I'm not here to really talk about that. But what I am here to say for sure is quality people. If you are a person who defines yourself as a quality human being, how many of you either are see yourself as a quality person or are trying to become a more quality person? Like how many of you are really trying to do the work, approaching things with humility and really trying to better yourself? Give me a yes in the chat. Recognize yourself. Give me a quick yes. If you're in this category, then I would say for sure my advice to you would be to be very conscious and strategic about only connecting with people that are on the same wavelength. You can't connect with people. You can't be trying to elevate to cloud 12 and you're dealing with somebody that's trying to operate in the basement. You can't, you get with somebody that's just like crazy, annoying, ghetto, ignorant, just ridiculous in their behavior, and they're not trying to evolve and grow, or they've been eating the monkey shit culture all day and they think that that's what it means to be black. Let them go be with somebody else in the monkey shit culture. Let them go find somebody like them. And so this requires a degree of discernment. This means sometimes, black man, you're going to have to walk past that girl with the nice booty, with the crazy attitude. You're going to have to ignore that. Don't let other men convince you of stupid things like, well, she cute, man, and she offered it to me, so I had to hit it. That's stupid. That's crazy. Who told you? What in the world makes you think you have to sleep with a woman just because she's attractive? Some of these women out here will kill you. they will lure you into the hotel room and rob you. so don't be a sucker, man. And the same thing is true with women. I think I've seen women that are eager to get married just because somebody asked them. And I think that they might go into that situation and make the commitment without really asking themselves, is this man truly trained to be a husband? Does he even know what that even looks like? It's almost like if somebody invites me to run a marathon, but that person's a sprinter. Some people are good sprinters. It's like track and field. Noah Lyles is one of the fastest men on earth. But Noah Lyles couldn't run a marathon to save his life. He literally could not run a marathon. So you got to know, you got to pick people that are appropriate for the position that you're asking them to play. Some men are sprinters. Some men are hit it and quit it. They'll give you a good time, whatever, and you can do with that as you wish. Now, mind you, a lot of these men have diseases and they bring problems into your life that are going to cause you issues later on, but you can make that choice. And then you have some men that are really built for this. You have some men that were raised in a way, they were raised with emotional marathon runners. They were raised by a father who stayed married to their mother for 40 or 50 years. They were around people that are going to say, hey, you know what? Go work it out with your wife. Go back home. You need to go back home. Versus some men who would say, well, if it's too hard, just quit. Just quit, man. This is too much. It's too stressful. And again, it's just like the marathon runner analogy. People who don't know how to run marathons don't understand people who run marathons. People who don't run a marathon, like I'd never run a marathon before. I'm going to use myself as an example. My wife got me running these marathons and half marathons, right? Before I did that, I remember my logic was, why in the hell would somebody want to run 26 miles? That's insane. Like that's too much. So in my mind, too hard around mile 3, you stop. You did good. You can go get you a Pepsi now or whatever. You can go kick it. You don't have to keep running. But there's some people who are built different. There's some people who say, no, mile 3 is just the beginning. Yeah, of course it's going to be painful, but the reward of crossing the finish line is worth it. I can't stop. Yeah, I'm a little injured, but I got to keep going. And that's a mindset. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? That's a mind. It's just like getting through school. People who really feel like they have to graduate are going to have a higher tolerance level for discomfort than people who think school is optional. Right? People who never saw anybody graduate are typically not going to stick it out for the whole 4 or 5 years. But people who feel like you have to finish school are going to think different. So I would just say, generally, I think when you talk about equally yoked, right? In church, they always talk about people that are equally yoked. And it's weird to me because they always talk about some biblical stuff. Like, do you go to church? I think that whether or not somebody goes to church, as we see in our community, whether or not somebody goes to church every Sunday is a very poor indicator of the quality of the character of that human being. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you understand what I'm saying. going to church every Sunday and stamping your little get in heaven card every week with some pastor who's teaching you how to twerk and vote for the Democrats and give them all your money or whatever. Like that's not really, in my view, something that says someone is a quality human being, right? I would say equally yoked is more of a spiritual concept. It kind of says, and it also isn't just spiritual, but it's also about mindset. It's also about alignment and objectives. Like, okay, are you a person who really values what we're about to do here? Like, if I'm a man and I have a baby with you, do you value the role of the father in the life of the child? Or are you a person who thinks daddies are optional? If you're a person who thinks daddies are optional, then you can't carry my seed because I'm a king, and you can't carry the king's seed if you might abort the king's child. Like we're not doing it, or kick the king out of the child's life. We're not doing that. And that goes back to my self-esteem, and the idea that this monkey shit culture convinces you as a man to go pop your seed in anything with a big booty. That right there just speaks to the depths to which they've taught you how to behave like a grown-up version of a first grader. I mean, little children do that. Little children, you give them candy, they're going to eat the candy because they don't care what's in it. You can put poison. You can put crack and rat poison in the candy, and if it tastes good, children will eat the candy. But a conscious, intelligent man who has evolved is going to say, well, wait a minute, what's in this? What are the long-term implications of me eating this candy? What are the ingredients? I need to see the ingredients. So my thought would be that applies also to the investments you make in human beings. What are the ingredients of this person? Yeah, she's cute on the outside, but what kind of human being is she? What kind of mother is she gonna be? What kind of person is she gonna add value to my life? Is this somebody worth me giving up the option that I have to be free? And again, this goes back to options. We start off talking about options and stock options and life options. So when somebody gives up an option, there should be compensation for that. So I would almost say that being very deliberate and intentional and conscious about the quality and the caliber of people you let into your space is something that isn't discussed at all. And it's leading to horrible investments by people. And people, you scroll up and down Instagram and all you hear is men complaining about women complaining about men, women complaining that their baby daddy abused them. So now they're officially in the victim club. And then men complaining that women don't do this and women don't do that. And I personally think that means that they haven't taken the time to learn discernment. That's the honest to God truth. But anyway, hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Next week, I'm going to start back with Money in the Morning. It's a free financial consciousness training that we do every morning, 7 days a week. If you'd like to join, you can just text the word morning to 87948, and I will send you an invitation. So just text morning to 87948. And also, we have a person named Aisha Verzi with the Black Business School who can actually meet with you if you want to set financial goals for yourself, look at things like insurance and other things like that. I believe every intelligent person should have these things in place. You can go to drboyceoffers.com, and Aisha's phone number is at the bottom of the page. Tell her that I sent you, and you could call her and talk to her directly about whatever you're trying to do financially. And she's a good friend of mine, and I respect her immensely. So feel free to go to drboyceoffers.com. Please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let me read the next comment. This comment comes from Hiru Ofori Ata. And the question was, why are so many people not getting married? He says, because in America, so he's coming from an African perspective. He says, marriage for men is by and large an adhesion contract where women get rewarded and then they get incentivized to leave. This is why 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Would you enter a contract where the other party gets rewarded for breaking said contract? Okay, that's interesting. But a lot of these comments I'm noticing came from men. That's very interesting. Another one says, another brother, I wake up, Wavy says, bad economy and marriage is a business. I do agree that marriage is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. The whole wedding and divorce industries are ways that they make money. You know, a capitalist system is going to find a way to make money on the way in the door and on the way out the door. So they're going to make money when you decide to form your union. They're going to make money when you decide to break your union. So one of the things that that industry does is they understand the emotions behind these decisions to form these relationships with other people. So De Beers, the diamond company, for example, ran a very famous campaign that you probably heard of called Diamonds Are Forever. Give me a yes if you've heard that campaign. So, diamonds are forever and ever and ever. And so what they did with this campaign was they basically persuaded millions of Americans that if you love somebody, if you love a woman, you're going to buy her a diamond. And they persuaded the women. They said, if a man really cares about you, then he's going to buy you a diamond. And so what they did was they incorporated this into culture. Again, more than monkey shit culture. White people get monkey shit culture too, but we get our own specialized version of monkey shit culture from BET and all that. Well, their version of monkey shit culture was that they put the diamonds are forever concept into a James Bond movie because they knew that everybody would be watching the movie. They put it into a song, diamonds are forever and ever and ever. And then they started also giving rules. Like the rule was you have to spend 3 months' salary on a diamond. And I remember when I was engaged once in 2006 ish, and at that time I was making about $10,000 a month. And I remember thinking, so 3 months' salary is $30,000. I'm not spending $30,000 on no diamond. You can kiss my whole entire black ass. And I would just say to you that part of the reason that they got away with that campaign to convince people to go spend this money and to convince people that a man doesn't love you if he does not buy you a diamond, or to convince you even that diamonds are rare when in fact they're actually not. How many of y'all knew this? Did y'all know this, that De Beers deliberately controls the supply of diamonds just to keep the price up? How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that De Beers just basically doesn't put the diamonds on the market so that they can actually sell them for more money? They restrict the supply artificially. So what they're doing is they're taking advantage of an unconscious society. They're taking advantage of a society that is not financially conscious or emotionally self-aware. They're not thinking. They don't know who they are. So a lot of people, because they don't know who they are and they don't have confidence in who they are, what they'll do is when they're not sure, they just follow the crowd. They say, okay, well, what's everybody else doing? And that pressure to fit in, that pressure to just sort of follow what everyone else is doing, that's what leads them to just say, okay, well, everyone else is buying a diamond. I'm going to get one. Everybody else is spending 3 months' salary. I'm going to do it too. Everybody else is doing weddings in a certain way where they're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000 on the wedding. I'm going to do it too. And in fact, I've been reading bridal magazines since I was a little girl. So I've been fantasizing about the wedding day, but not spending one single second being trained on what it means to be a spouse. Like I find that really interesting. I think that it's fascinating that with all the time and energy that's put into wanting to get married, we don't have anything institutionally set up to teach us how to stay married or how to even run a family. If I built a school tomorrow, when I get that money, Jaylen Brown from the Celtics, I know you're building a Black Wall Street. Hey, brother, if you ever want to put aside 10 million and start building a school system, I'll be happy to consult with you for free. I don't want a nickel of money from you, but I'd like the community to get this. I would actually structure a school where literally we would teach the kids things like how to actually stay married. Like, look, not to the point where you have to do it, but to the point where if you do it, you got to do it right. Like, why would you do it if you're going to do it wrong? Why would you do it if it's only going to destroy you financially? Why would you do it if it's going to destroy you emotionally? Why would you do it if you're not going to succeed? So if you do it, so that's my position on it, right? My position on things like marriage is similar to my position on voting. And it always gets confused. People who are not thinkers, they always confuse my position because maybe it's complex. But just like with voting, I never tell anybody who to vote for. I just tell you to think about it and make sure you're voting in a way that's consistent with your interests. And then also, when it comes to marriage, I'm not telling people to get married. I'm not telling people to do what I did. I married an awesome woman who has 3 kids, and I love those kids like my own. And because I had no shame in that, there were people who misinterpreted that to mean that I was saying that all men need to do what I do. I don't believe all men need to do what I do because all men can't do what I do. Y'all ain't built like me. You're not the same as me. We're not the same. We don't have to live life in the exact same way. You do you, man. Seriously. But don't you dare ever try to tell me how to do me. Don't you dare ever get in my face and say that I need to do what you do, because I don't follow the crowd. I am not a sheep. I am not a sheep. I wear a lion around my neck. That's what I identify. I don't have a sheep around my neck. I don't eat monkey shit culture. I have no problem telling it like it is with this nonsense that's out here. So at the end of the day, figure out who the hell you are. Make the decision that works for you, but just make sure you think about it, because I think if you can make a mistake one direction or the other. You can make a mistake if you can't even begin to try to even see the benefits of being in a good marriage or a good family, and what that would look like if you're eaten up by, say, what the passport brother mindset of marriage is always bad and women are this and women are that, these sort of generalizations. I think that's wrong. I think it's about the quality of the person that you pick. But then also, if you really think you have to do it, like you're going to go ahead and get married at the age of 22 because your pastor told you to, well, then you're probably headed for some problems there too. In fact, I know women that married men in the church who literally might as well marry the damn devil. But they married a man in church because that's what their pastor told them to do. And they don't understand that the church, unfortunately, in many cases, has a whole industry that's built around keeping women single and lonely. They are setting all these rules to make sure that the only man in your house is either the pastor himself or Jesus Christ. So a real man comes into your space and he's like, why do you need me? You don't need me. You got your pastor and you got Jesus and you got your vibrator. So you don't need me. Like, there's no space for me. And that, to me, I think is flawed also. But anyway, let me keep going. Let me read more. So more comments on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. And I asked the simple question. I said, why are a lot of people not getting married? Another one says the juice isn't worth the squeeze for most men. Everyone loves a good story, says the importance of religion has changed as much as the gender roles and responsibilities in relationships. Elohim says there's no marriage material among women. Micah Tinkler says, what benefits do men receive? Darren says, can't afford it on many levels. Jonathan says the risk outweighs the reward. And so these are some of the comments that I've seen. Now, what I did also is I did some research on this to look at, sort of survey results in terms of top reasons why men refuse to get married. And then I also got the top reasons why women refuse to get married. So here's what the research says in terms of why men refuse to get married. It says here that there's a fear of commitment. Men often fear long-term commitment marriage requires, worrying about losing their freedom. So that goes back to options. We were talking about not just stock options, but life options. One thing I've mentioned to you all, that option theory says from the very beginning that if you give up an option, there has to be a reward. So apparently a lot of men don't see the reward in that. And I can say that that's also driven partly by the imbalance in the collective ecosystem that was created in the Black community by things like mass incarceration, and also the distortion between economic opportunities for Black men and Black women. This is the dangers of integration. When integration taught all Black people to simply survive by seeking a job for a white man, right? Like from a white man, right? When we were all taught that same protocol, that the best way to succeed economically if you're Black is to go ask a white man for a job, then effectively you are allowing massa to reshape your relationships. The colonizer then has the power to decide which Black people get opportunities and which ones don't. Study colonization all around the world. Study how colonization creates civil wars amongst Black people, because what they'll do is they'll grab some people and give them opportunities, and other people, they freeze them out. So if you're one of the ones that's frozen out, you're going to have an anger and a bitterness toward the ones that are invited in. So sometimes I believe there's an anger and a bitterness that some brothers feel when they see women getting opportunities from corporations and universities and whatever that Black men don't receive. Like I can just tell you, in my household, my wife is a full professor at a university that does not hire African-American males. Her university does not have one single African-American male that they hired in any department to serve on the faculty. So so Black men have to have a different route. Black men especially have to become entrepreneurs. If you don't learn how to create your own, he's going to always bottleneck and constrain your possibilities, because he ultimately wants to dominate you. He ultimately wants you under his control, under his power. That's what colonization does not work if you don't control the men. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? Are you following what I'm saying? And don't tell me you're not colonized, because all colonization really is, for the most part, is it's like a corporate takeover. It's basically where one party comes in and they want to extract resources from another party, from another group. And to extract just like when the Europeans went to Africa, they're like, okay, they got gold and minerals and timber and all the kinds of stuff that we need. So we got to get this stuff from these people. So in order to get this stuff, we got to control them. So colonization and slavery and all of it is all built around the idea of saying, okay, whoever it is that's in this space that's going to buck up and challenge this system, anybody who's an independent thinker, we got to crush them. Anybody, the little Boyce Watkinses, we need to abort them or miseducate them or make sure that they get in line. Any black men who are going to stand up and look me in the eye and challenge me, I need to make sure that they're out of the picture. Any women that are going to align themselves with men who are going to stand up against me, I need to eliminate them from the picture. This is the nature of colonization. So effectively, in my view, in our community, the ecosystem has been imbalanced because you've created scenarios where, because so many men have been incarcerated, because so many men have been emasculated, because so many men have been marginalized economically speaking, you have an imbalance in the numbers of marriage eligible black women versus marriage eligible black men. You have a lot of women who are ready for marriage 100%, but just can't find a man who can kind of fit where they feel that they are in society. And but the other thing too, though, is that for a lot of men that do have it together, it becomes very, very hard for them to make the commitment because they got a billion and one options. I don't know about, I can't talk. I probably did not have a typical dating experience before I met my wife. I didn't. I've been internet famous for a while. It's not real fame, but people recognize me on the street. Even in Egypt, people came up and recognized me in Egypt, right? So I go around the world and I bump into people who know what I do. If you're black and you're conscious, there's some probability that, my stuff has crossed your space. And what happened in that experience, though, was that there was no shortage of really highly educated, very attractive single women, particularly in the early 40s. By that stage, either women have either chosen not to get married at all, or they are married, or they've gotten divorced. So there was this sea of really intelligent, really attractive, divorced and or single women that also unfortunately had gotten to the point where certain standards have been removed. There was no like fantasizing about getting married anymore. That was kind of already done. There was no like, okay, I got to hurry up and have a baby. You're 41. That's not typically a variable there anymore. And also, it might just be a matter of getting certain needs met. So what I saw was that as a black man in my 40s, my dating was very easy. And a lot of other men I know who have a couple of dollars in their pocket, who are not broke, if you have enough money to fly her to an island or something, if she wants to or whatever, there was no shortage of female company out there, right? But then when I talk to my female friends in their 40s who are single and dating, and I say, well, tell me what that's been like for you. Is that a good experience or bad? They don't tend to say good things. They don't tend to say, oh, yeah, it's amazing. They're awesome men. The relationships are great. They tend to say that it's hard to meet a quality man and that all the men just want sex and they want it really quickly. And there's a lot of pressure. And that's what I've been kind of hearing and seeing, right? So what I really perceive is that there's an imbalance in the ecosystem. That's the point. And this has been written about actually in The Economist. The Economist magazine did a whole deep research study on how the Biden crime bill and mass incarceration threw the dating and reproductive ecosystem of the African-American community off balance. You've lost balance, Black people. That's what you've lost. You lost your balance. So what you had in terms of the balance that you had, I went down to the Nubian village and I was hearing about these Nubian kings that ran Egypt 5,000 years ago. And I just said, my God, this is unbelievable to just see the amazing things Black people can do and just the balance that's been created over thousands of years. But then there's times where colonization creates these imbalances. So with the Nubian village in Egypt, for example, they had really sort of developed a really clear, strong culture, and in fact, they're very one strong aspect of their culture is that Nubians tend to only marry Nubians. That was one thing I remember our tour guide saying. He said Nubians only marry Nubians. That's why they have one of the strongest, most cohesive cultures out here. But the balance was thrown off. When there was some stuff going on with the dam and they flooded their region, and then they forced a lot of people to be displaced. And so colonization can just really disrupt the balance that you have as a people. So when you're talking about solutions, and this is something that I love talking about because I'm a mathematician, and in mathematics, I've never seen a math problem I can solve by crying about it. I've never seen a math problem I can solve by complaining about it. I've never seen a math problem that was ever solved by asking the Democrats or Republicans to solve it for me. I've never seen a math problem that was solved by hoping that white men would come along and fix it for me. In terms of the solution, I think that part of it comes down to those of us that actually care about the solution, sort of opening ourselves up to the kinds of healing that is required to build productive ecosystems. One thing that my wife, who's a therapist, helped me to understand is that undiagnosed, untreated trauma is a big problem in the community. Trauma affects you not just psychologically. People who are traumatized, they die earlier. They have all kinds of physical ailments in their bodies. They're more likely to get cancer. They're more likely to make horrible financial decisions. They're more likely to have bad relationships, et cetera. So you have a heavily traumatized community where everybody thinks therapy is for suckers, and people just go around re-traumatizing each other. It's almost like a zombie virus. A traumatized person will traumatize other people, and then you have all these traumatized people re-traumatizing others. And it just creates this really messy scenario where you've got this constant war, and you can't really create love in the middle of war. So healing is really important, but once you heal, like you clean yourself off, like you cleaned off your spirit, you can't get your spirit dirty again by swimming back in the monkey shit culture. You can't be, it's hard to be a healed, clean person. Give me this if you understand this analogy. If I go and I'm dirty and I'm oily and I'm muddy, and I go and I take a bath and I scrub really, really hard with really good soap, and I get all that mud out of my skin and really clean myself, and I'm in the shower for an hour and I come out and I'm nice and clean. If I jump back in the mud with other people, then it's not going to matter anymore. I'm going to get muddy again. Or if I hang out with my dirty ass friend who refuses to take a shower, then eventually I'm going to get his dirt on me. His mud is going to get on me. And so that's spiritually true as well. I think that when you clean your spirit and you do the work and you go get therapy and you do everything you got to do, you got to sort of find clean people to spend time with. Unless you want to get dirty and muddy and nasty again, unless you want people around you that are going to re-traumatize you and re-trigger you and make you into something that you don't want to be. Just like somebody who gets cleaned up from drugs has to walk away from the drug addicts. They have to get new friends. So that is a solution in my view. I think that healthy relationships really exist in the Black community. In fact, and I want to be more lighthearted. I know I've been very serious in this conversation, but I'm right here in Egypt right now with some of the most awesome Black people you've ever met. Just beautiful, healthy relationships. Everybody's treating each other with decency and dignity. And we're learning about ancient Egyptian culture. And there's a group of men. We formed a men's circle, and all the brothers were just talking about serious Black men stuff. And these are quality men I respect. I mean, again, these are fathers and soldiers and husbands and businessmen making, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year, and just super high quality, cool people of all ages. So I think the youngest person on our trip is 23. My nickname for her is Gen Z, but her name is actually Jessica. And then I don't know what the oldest person's age is, but there are a lot of couples, and a lot of the men, for example, that came with their spouses. Most of them have been married like 25 or 30 years. But then there's also a couple brothers here that brought their girlfriends, and then some women traveled alone, some men that traveled alone, and just really cool people. And I like that. I was really happy about the kind of energy we attracted on this trip, because these are the types of people I like to be around, and or like if you go to the All Black National Convention, for example, which is going to be in Chicago, Illinois, October 25th through the 27th, you'll find the energy is very positive. And that was a confirmation to me that, okay, I think I must be a decent person, because maybe I'm attracting people that are similar to myself, because I'm not into the ratchetness. I'm not into the ignorance. I don't like the monkey shit culture. I offend people. I offend the hell out of people. I told you DL Hughley called me and damn near threatened to physically attack me, which I couldn't believe DL would get on the phone and say something so stupid. But yeah, and it was all because, because I'd said some stuff that I think was very accurate about him basically walking around like he works for the Democratic Party, and he got offended or whatever. I didn't understand. I said, why do you even care what I think? You're DL Hughley and I'm not. But still, though, like, this is the type of shit that I deal with. And it's like, but the thing is, I don't back down. Like, I'm not a coward. I'm not scared of you. I'm going to be nice to you, but that's not because I'm scared of you. It's because I want to be a decent fucking person, and I'd rather collaborate than to try to fight and compete with other Black people. I'd rather work together. I think there's enough for all of us. I believe in an abundance mindset. Whereas you grew up thinking that we gotta dominate each other, we gotta compete, we gotta take stuff from each other, I gotta. If I don't run you, you gonna run me. Well, yeah, I get that. Okay, you've been traumatized. You've lived in a different kind of reality from the one that I want to live in. I'm not saying you live in a reality I don't understand. I know that reality. Don't forget, my father that raised me was a Vietnam veteran who's killed people. He was a police officer. He was big on dominance and control, and he was clearly the alpha. I was not the alpha. I was not the alpha in my house. I was never the man of the house. In my house, my father was the man of the house, and unfortunately, because he had his trauma, he went overboard to make that clear to me, to the point where it wasn't necessary for him to do some of the things that he did. I love the man. I always honor him, but he was not a perfect man. He was growing, and being in that space. One thing it did teach me, though, is it taught me I'm not scared of bullies. I dealt with the ultimate bully who literally has killed people. So if I'm not scared of him, I'm not scared of none of y'all Negroes ever. But at the same time, if I see you and we don't, like Umar Johnson, I guess has had an issue with me for a long time, because again, I admit I'm a person who never believed that damn school was ever going to get built. I think he took offense to that. I donated $25, but I still don't think the damn school's going to get built. Maybe he'll do it now, like 15 years later or something. But anyway, but I wanted to talk to him. I said, because we should talk. Like, let's look each other in the eye and let's figure this out. Because if you can drop your sword and let go of whatever you're holding on to, I can let go of what I'm holding on to. But because we have a culture, a monkey shit culture that comes out of hip hop, where men and women are taught to only sort of seek to dominate each other, it doesn't work, because people don't understand that you can collaborate and still win. People think that the only way I can win is if I defeat you. And my thought is, no, the only way I can win is if I can work with you. You are not my enemy. Umar, if Umar Johnson is listening to this, because he's hated me for a long time, you are not my enemy, brother. The enemy is the conflict itself. The enemy is the colonizer that seeks to divide us and to control all of us. The enemy, DL, is not me saying that I don't like the fact that you are running around for the Democratic Party like you're an employee. That I'm not the enemy. The enemy is whatever motherfucker is controlling you and making you feel somehow that you have to ignore all ideas that deviate from your own. That's the enemy. The enemy's ignorance. The enemy is the fact that we have been led to falsely believe that by simply repeating what we've been doing for the last 50 fucking years is going to actually give us a different result. The enemy is whatever constrained baseline second grader thinking that's promoted to us that makes us believe somehow that if I keep doing the exact same damn thing I've been doing since 1965, that somehow that's going to magically turn into a different outcome. That's the enemy, man. The enemy is the ignorance and the blindness they drop on us. And I don't mean to cuss so much, but this frustrates me. This is insanity, y'all. This is crazy. So part of if I sound different today, it's probably because I'm in Egypt, and it's like, how you're in a room, like maybe you're in a musty ass, funky ass room that's got monkey shit in the corner and it smells like crap and it's nasty and germy and smelly and because you've been in the room so long, you've gotten used to it. Like you're used to funky, nasty, musty, smelly spaces. And then suddenly you go out and you get some sunshine and some fresh air. And then you get used to that. You've been out in the warm sun for a while and you're feeling good and you're feeling free. You're not constrained anymore. It don't stink no more. You know, then suddenly you look back at that room and you look at it very differently. Anybody, I don't know if anybody else has gone out of the country. If you haven't gone out of the country, you have to go because there's something about leaving the United States that makes you look at the United States different. Just does. And I go out of the country all the time. I mean, I haven't gone to Africa as much as I want to. I think I've been to 5 African countries, Ghana, Nigeria, Botswana, South Africa, and now Egypt. But I'm gonna go to about another 20 in the next 4 or 5 years. I promise you. I guarantee you that this is not done. I'm going to come to Egypt many times, but I'm also going to go to other places. And there's something that happens when you get a chance to see a normal culture, like when you are taken out of dysfunction and you get broader exposure to normalcy. You start looking back and you say, "What the hell are we doing? What is this stuff?" So maybe that's what's driving me today. Maybe that's why I sound a little different. I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of been consistent in terms of who I am and what I believe and what I see. But now it's like I see it, but I really see it now. Now I'm looking at it in a microscope, unlike any microscope I've ever had. And I just think that overall, as African American people, we got to change. We got to do stuff different. And the thing is, not everybody's going to do things different. I'm under no illusion that I have the ability to persuade 40 million Black people to stop eating monkey shit culture that's being heavily promoted with billions of dollars controlled by white and Jewish people. I don't believe on any level that I have the ability to change any of that. But what I do believe I have the ability to do is to influence some of that. What I do know, and I've seen evidence of this, is that my consistent repetitive discussions every single day about Black economics as one of the keys to our liberation has had a profound impact on our community. I do believe that when I go to InvestFest, I'm going to pop into InvestFest just to say hi. The brothers, they haven't really reached out to me, and nor do I need them to. I applaud them. I love them. But whatever reason, if they're ever listening, just if anybody knows them, tell them I love what they're doing. But I'm going to pop in just as a guest. And I fully know that culture, that economic driven culture, that culture of Black economics and wealth and everything, I'm proud to say I played a part in that. I am happy about that. Right. And so I know that the influence has been there, but I don't think I have the ability to reshape an entire Black community. Right. I think I heard somebody make a statement today where she said, I think she said her pastor told her this. She said, at the train, not everybody at the train station is there to get on the train. Some people are there just to see you off. Some people are just at the train station to say goodbye to you. So some of those people, you're just going to get on the train, you're going to see them, you're going to be waving at them as you ride away. They're not there to get on the train with you. Maybe in the next generation or 2 or 3. So I kind of believe that there are segments and pockets of the Black community in America that are so advanced in our thinking that we are going to be just a hell of a force over time. I believe that there's certain segments, and I'm going to guess maybe you're talking about maybe out of 40 million, maybe you're talking about 2 million that just have it right. And I mean, on this trip to Egypt, I've met these families. I've met the Green family where they've got children that are educated at the highest levels, that are traveling around the world because they're doing things like investing in stocks and stock options and buying real estate and everything else. I talked to, a father and daughter who are literally investing together, as a family because of this. And the daughter and the father were telling me about everything that they're doing. I talked to other couples that are just doing amazing things. And so I don't think it's all doom and gloom in the Black community. I think that there is a large percentage of the community that is just sick of it, that's not participating in the nonsense. And so my job is not so much to connect with people who don't understand me. I can't do that very well because I'm not, maybe my own trauma makes me not patient enough to really talk to somebody who's determined to be ignorant. If you're determined to be whoever you are, if you're determined to believe this doesn't work, then that's okay. I'm not going to interfere with that process. But I'm really here to be a cheerleader for those of you who get it, right? I'm here to kind of say to you, don't be afraid. I'm here to say to you that you can do more. I'm here to say to you that, keep going, keep growing. Don't stop. Keep evolving. You ain't got it all figured out, but you will. Keep growing spiritually. And the more you grow spiritually, the more your consciousness grows. And I'm firmly convinced of this. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been, looking at all these tombs with emperors and pharaohs and all that stuff. Is as I believe that the more conscious you become, the closer you get to God. And if you think about ancient Egypt and the pharaohs, like they were always talking about getting connected to God and being closer to God, and they would kind of have this idea that they were these sort of living manifestations of God, and they would have these big tombs. They would pretty much spend it seemed like their whole lives preparing for death, preparing for the next stage, preparing to, they'd have all this jewelry and their servants and horses and all this stuff buried with them to take them to the next level, to get them closer to the gods or whatever. And honestly, I'm not into that per se, because I think that's a little arrogant, right? To think that, everything stops and ends once you're dead, or that you can take things with you. But at the same time, I do appreciate the idea of understanding this, that getting closer to God can actually unlock the God inside of you. The more conscious you become, the more you realize that the limitations that are set by your flesh and blood and your human emotions, things like, for example, things like jealousy. I try my best to get rid of emotions like that, because that confines me to that low vibrational energy that comes with being human. So I told my wife, I said, I don't just love you, I care about you. Because there's a lot of people that love you, but I can love anything. I can love a car, I can love a chair. I got a MetaQuest. I love my MetaQuest because I can play virtual golf, but that doesn't mean I care about the car. It doesn't mean I care about the chair. It doesn't mean I care about the MetaQuest, right? So caring about something is deeper than loving something. If I love you, that just means you're a possession. You could be somebody that, So that means I love you as long as you are doing what I need you to do, and you are here for me in the way that I need you to be here for me. But me caring about you means that I'm gonna want you to do well, even if it's not in my benefit. That's more of a spiritual thing. That means, like, so for example, if I'm a man and I say, hey babe, I'm leaving. Like, there's some people who say, I'm leaving my spouse some money, but you better not spend it on nobody else. And a person that cares about you would say, I'm leaving you money and I'm going to be gone. So I want you to have a happy life. And if that means marrying someone else, then I want you to do that. As I just pick somebody that's going to treat you well, because I want you to do well. You're not my possession. And again, I know not everybody's going to get it. Some people are going to say, well, I ain't trying to do all that. I understand. I get it. But that's been part of my journey here. And so I think ultimately, as Black people, one of the things that I kind of see, because, I've been traveling quite a bit lately. I travel a lot normally. Normally I take 50 trips a year, but this past few weeks, I was in Europe for a long time, and then now I've been in Africa for a while. I've just really been thinking about that. I think that we've lost a lot of who we are. I think that they stole that. Slavery stole something from you. The war on drugs stole a lot from you. Mass incarceration stole a lot from you. And it's created the monkey shit culture that has us operating on the level, on the vibration of animals to some extent. Like, it's gotten us to the point where we are degrading ourselves, embarrassing ourselves, destroying ourselves, and not doing things that are going to lead to longevity for our community. So anyway, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. If you want to see, I'm going to make it more lighthearted. I know I've been sort of reflecting on stuff for a while, so I hope that that's okay. And by the way, this podcast is on Spotify. If you'd like to listen on Spotify, feel free to follow there. Here's some pictures from Egypt if you guys want to take a look. This is me and my wife. And some of the stuff here, if you haven't visited, you got to come. It's amazing, and the people are extraordinary, and the food's been really good on the trip. They're treating us really well. Shout out to Jay Cameron, who set all this up. So there are some kids. These are like little Nubian kids in Aswan. And Aswan is where the Nubian village is. And so there's some other stuff here. So we went to the Nubian Museum today. I think it's called the Nubian Museum. It's in Aswan. And so there's just all the artifacts are like, 1,000 years before Jesus and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. And also we learned about spices and essential oils and stuff like that. Of course, they got to make their money, but it's really good stuff. And the kids, like, this was a little beautiful little Nubian girl in the Nubian village, and they look like our kids. They look just like like Pookie Nim, on the block. And so this is what we've been seeing. It's been pretty amazing. That's one sister that's on the trip. Her name is Paris. Paris is a therapist out of Brooklyn, and super smart. She traveled with her uncle Larry, and I remember Larry's name because Larry's my father's name. And so they made it into kind of a family trip. And this is when we are in the Nubian village. So, and by the way, if you guys want to join us on one of the trips in the future, we will do more trips. I'm going to work something out with them once I get back. And I think the next trip will probably be Ghana. And so, but there are other trips as well that are happening. We can connect you to all that. So the platform that we created for that is b1voyages.com. It's b the number one voyages.com. So feel free. Now, if you go there now, there'll just be information about the Egypt trip. And that trip sold out very, very quickly. So I apologize for those of you that wanted to come but couldn't. But on the next one, we'll make more space. I think this time we said, okay, let's experiment. Let's take 50 people over there and see how that feels. Well, next time maybe we'll go to 100 or something like that. So feel free to go to b1voyages.com. And also, if you want to do our freedom challenge, financial freedom challenge, you can actually text the word freedom to 87948. And that way we can stay connected. And I'll let you guys know when we're going to take another group trip. And if you want to join us. And also, I'll send you 30 days to financial consciousness. This is a training that I did every single day. I do a lecture on financial consciousness that's free to anybody who wants to participate in the Black Business School, which again is free to join. All this is free; doesn't cost you any money. And so, if you'd like to get that sent to you via text, just text the word freedom to 87948. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to kind of close this conversation down by kind of ending on a basic point. If you ask me why, actually, you know what? Scratch that. Here's something I meant to read to you guys. I actually looked up the reasons that men refuse to get married and the most common reasons that women refuse to get married. So this is what the research says. One, they said for a lot of men, fear of commitment gets in the way. Two is career priorities. They said men may prioritize their careers and believe marriage will interfere with their professional goals. That was big. That was big for me too. When I was in my 30s, I was very much a workaholic, and I was trying to start my business. And I remember thinking, I don't really know if I would be a good husband if I'm working 10, 12 hours a day, and I wouldn't want to deal with the stress of somebody who made me feel guilty about that. And also, being an entrepreneur involves a lot of economic volatility. And I remember feeling like, gosh, I don't really know. I really didn't want my dream to get killed by somebody who's saying, you're being irresponsible because you put money into your business when your family needs that money, right? So rather than dealing with that, I just said, you know what? I'm just not gonna participate right away because I don't feel comfortable doing that. Now, if the world was different, or if my life had been different, let's say I met somebody who said, look, I'll ride with you no matter what, I'm going to support you in what you're doing no matter what, then I probably would have considered marriage in that context, right? I think that supporting someone's dreams goes a very long way, but then also you want to be aware of what dream am I supporting? Am I supporting your dream to do something that I consider to be meaningful and realistic and whatever, or am I supporting your dream to be a 62-year-old rapper, who's never gotten a record deal before? Well, that's hard, right? That's really hard. It's we have an oversupply of 45 and 50-year-old rappers who haven't been able to make a nickel from busting rhymes yet, right? So that can be kind of difficult for people who don't have the resources that they need. So I think that supporting dreams is really important. I think that if you are a dream killer, that's going to make someone resent you. They're not going to want to be married to you. But you can't support just anything. So I think that this is where the vetting process comes into play. So I can say, okay, what am I getting into? What am I supporting here? Okay, you're telling me that you want to do this and this and this. Tell me more about it. And if I feel like it works and it's realistic, then I think at that point, I have no choice but to be supportive. Because if I'm not supportive, then I don't really know what kind of energy that's going to create in a relationship, right? I know that we feel like we're holding people accountable and we're being realistic with them and whatever, and I have a say in what you do. But I will say this: one of the best things that my father taught me when I was a kid is, like pick your battles, right? Like generally with women, and the things women want to do, you want to try to find a way to be supportive. So with anything my wife wants to do, my thought is, how do I support that? Right? Sure, I know I can make an objection if I want to. I know that I could probably have a voice and say something, But every time I use my voice, there's a penalty. There's a price I pay for that. It's just like AI. They say, I don't know if y'all know this, but there's going to be an energy shortage because of AI. Why? Well, because every time you do an AI query, it requires a certain amount of energy. Like they said that drawing an image on ChatGPT takes the same energy that it takes to run a light bulb for like 5 minutes or something crazy like that, right? So every time I step up and say, I don't want you to do that, right? And you need to respect me because I'm your husband. Sure, she might do it, but I'm burning some capital every time I do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I'm creating a little bit of resentment there. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this because you're my husband, but me doing it doesn't mean I inherently agree or feel uh, connected to whatever your logic is. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'll do this because you told me to, but I'm not doing it because I'm happy. So you're making me a little less happy every time you tell me not to do something that I really want to do. Right. So I think, one of the things to consider is, when you vet what you're getting into, then you're kind of in advance preparing for the battles that you're going to end up facing later on. So, but if you haven't thought about that, then what happens is you're with this person who's doing all this shit that doesn't make any sense to you, that's driving you crazy, and you're speaking up about it, and all it's doing is just creating problems and resentment. So, I will say this: if I'd met someone in my early 30s who was connected to my goals, who listened to me, understood me at that level, and was really super supportive, I probably could have gotten married, because then I would know I could go in with the emotional security of knowing that you're gonna have my back even if the money's not good. And I think a lot of men appreciate that. And I would encourage women to consider that kind of thing when you're searching for a husband, or you're trying to get that guy to want to marry you or something. I personally think that big dreamers, ambitious men, ambitious women really appreciate people that really have their back, because the journey's already hard without having the person right next to you shitting on your goals every chance that they get. That is not going to make them more connected to you. Anyway, let me go back in here. Let me read more. Other reasons that men don't get married: they said desire for independence. Many men value their independence and may fear that marriage will restrict their personal freedom and lifestyle. 5, negative past experiences. Bad experiences in past relationships or seeing other marriages fail can make men reluctant to marry. That's a big one. A lot of men don't get married because they saw their friends get divorced and how sad they were. So that's something I know people don't want to talk about. They want to say, "Oh, these men are just punks and they're just scared to commit and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, no, they're. It's like if a woman watches another woman get assaulted, she's gonna be a little nervous about laying down to have sex. she's she's not gonna be eager to just sort of make herself vulnerable if she just sat there and watched another woman get traumatized. So when men watch other men get traumatized, they get nervous. They say, "Oh, I'm not doing that." My brother, I got a girl pregnant when I was 18. My daughter's mother. We were very young, and my brother, I asked him one time. I said, well, what kept you from having sex? Until because he was a virgin for a while. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning that. And he said, well, what happened to you when you started having sex in high school? I said, oh, I had a baby. He said, exactly. So by seeing what happened to me, he learned from that. He's a smart man, right? So I would just say the same thing is true here. I think that when people are seeing other people getting dragged to divorce court, losing everything, they just say, I'm not signing up for that. Because why would I do that? Why would I give up my options of freedom when just to get whatever negative outcome I just watched somebody else go through? Also, they said, what else is here? They said another reason men refuse to get married is uncertainty about the future. Men might feel uncertain about the future, unsure if they're ready to settle down, if they've met the right person. Yeah, and I think that uncertainty is also financial uncertainty. So typically, a man who's not financially secure is burdened with this idea that you have this expectation to be able to provide for other people. So if you can barely provide for yourself, what makes you think you can provide for a family? Tell me if you get what I'm saying. If this makes sense. If you can't, and I hate making it about me. I don't want to do that, but I mean, I guess I'm a good example I can pick from. Um, when I didn't have enough money, I wasn't trying to marry nothing. There was no way. I wasn't trying to have the stress. I was already stressed out about being broke. I didn't need the stress of somebody beating me up for being broke. Like, it reminded me of how broke I was. So no, I wasn't going to get married when I was financially insecure, and I think a lot of guys feel that way. A lack of societal pressure. They said society often places less pressure on men to marry, allowing them to feel more comfortable delaying or avoiding marriage together. That's true. A lot of the pressure to get married is more so on women than it is on men. I've noticed that. So anyway, here's the 7 reasons they said that women refuse to get married. 1, a desire for independence. Many women prioritize personal freedom and independence, valuing autonomy over traditional marriage roles. 2, career focus. Some women choose to focus on their careers, believing that marriage might hinder their professional growth and ambitions. I've seen that happen a lot with Black women. A lot of Black women are told to, focus on the books, not the boys. And so you have the I know many highly ambitious, highly successful career women who are medical doctors and attorneys and corporate executives who didn't even stop to think about things like marriage and family or making a man happy until they were about 40 years old. In which case, unfortunately, certain opportunities, certain windows of possibility might have closed by then. Anything's possible at any stage. It's never too late, but it can be a little bit tougher. 3, fear of divorce. With high divorce rates, many women fear the emotional and financial consequences of a divorce. Past negative experiences, previous bad relationships, or witnessing unhealthy marriages can make women hesitant to commit, like what you see in your home. So process this. Why would you expect marriage to be a high priority in a community where most of our young people now grew up in broken families? Like, why would you think that a woman, I want you to process this for me. Think about this for a minute. Let me know if you're following this here. I mean, I'm not trying to ramble on, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying here. Let me know if you're getting this. How in the world can a woman really trust a man at the extent of marriage if her father disappointed her at an early age? Like, if her own father, like the first man you ever loved, broke your heart and wasn't there for you, how can you really really truly trust a man? I'm talking about like stupid vulnerability. Like, I'm talking about trust to the point where it's like, yeah, you could screw me over if you wanted to, but I just trust you that much. I don't know. I just don't. And I think that we don't discuss that enough because everybody's so busy focusing on black girl magic and telling women that they're perfect and that men are the problem, that we don't talk about the depth of trauma that a young girl goes through when her daddy's nowhere around when she needs him. Like really, you had all these situations where you needed a daddy, you needed a protector, and your dad did not do the job. Like, your daddy was not around. Like, that's traumatic. That's horrible. That's unfair. That should not have happened to you. And I hate the idea that we don't spend time talking about the pain or acknowledging and really discussing the pain that women have to ignore, that should rightfully come from the idea that your opposite sex parent was nowhere to be found, that they had the daddy daughter dance and you couldn't go, or that bad things happen to you. Maybe molestation is through the roof. Think about how many black girls get touched unfairly or inappropriately when they're young. You got R. Kelly's all throughout the hood. You got 20 something, 27, 32-year-old men running around dating 13-year-old girls. And it's not like just like a predator throwing some little girl in a van. It's literally a relationship where the girl really thinks she really is in love with this 28-year-old man that got her pregnant. And a lot of this happens because of the missing father. I don't think that as black people we're ever gonna, those who want to build families and stuff, I don't think we're ever really gonna build healthy families until we acknowledge the trillions in wealth, as well as the infinite damage that was done when they not only removed the man from the family, but they removed your memory of what it was like to even have a man in the family. When they didn't just take away the father, they took away the respect for the father. They took away the need for the father. It's like somebody cutting off your right arm and then teaching you that you don't even need a right arm anyway. So if somebody offers you a right arm, you're gonna say, "Why in the hell do I need that? My left arm is good. I'm cool. I can drive. I can cook. I can eat with it. I can do my homework. Why do I even need a right arm?" So generally speaking, I just think that this is damaging. This is, I mean, you're not gonna really fight for something that you don't think that you need. You're not going to fight for something that you don't value. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. What do y'all think? If you don't value something, if you don't feel like, damn, I really need this, then you're not really gonna be committed to. You're gonna commit as long as it's comfortable. Once it gets hard, you're gonna give up. Am I right or am I right? Again, think about it like college. Think about it like college. When I went to college, I felt like I had to finish. So on the hard days, it never crossed my mind to drop out of school. It never, if I called my parents and said, gosh, school's really hard, I think I'm gonna come home, they'd be like, no, you can't do that. You have to finish. I had no choice. You need to have a college degree. Like, that's the standard. That's the expectation. There is no option for you to drop out of school. Like, that's not even something we even talk about. But then I have friends who did drop out of school, and in many cases, it was because nobody else in their family had finished college. So they're like, oh, well, it's hard. So just come on home. So again, when you've been taught your whole life that you're a strong black woman and that black girl magic, and black women are perfect, black women can do everything, and you ain't got no trauma, it's really these niggas out here, they the problem and all that. Well, then when you get with a man and things get hard, then you're gonna say, well, I survived my whole life without a man. I mean, I didn't even have my father, so I'm gonna be all right. I'm not gonna fight for this relationship. I'm not gonna sacrifice and compromise for this because why? I don't need it. But you will sacrifice and compromise for, I don't know, getting your hair done, because ain't no woman gonna leave the house without getting her hair done. She'll spend her last nickel to get the hair done. Am I lying? Am I lying? Seriously, like, so going out without getting your hair done is something where it's like, oh no, oh hell no, I can't leave the house. I got to go and max out the credit card. I got to go borrow money to get this has got to happen by any means necessary. But I don't think we always feel that way about our relationships. Oh wow, well, because mama got along without a man, so I can too. And again, this is not just picking on the women. I hope I don't sound like I'm picking on. I'm not doing that. I'm actually acknowledging the trauma that maybe you're not acknowledging. When you have to have this superhero, strong black woman persona, like everything's perfect because you got an MBA and you look good. And I'm like, but are you really good inside? Like, did that inner child that was damaged, that little girl that's crying because her daddy wasn't there, or because she went through things because she couldn't depend on a man, has she been healed enough to even know how to function properly in a situation where a man might be involved? I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm not telling you how to feel. Everybody's different. And I will also say this: where I've seen it appear in the boys is that when the men don't think the women need men, then they're also quick to walk out too. They're like, well, you don't really need me around here. I mean, you keep telling me how you don't need me. And also my mama didn't need a man. So I'm gonna go out here and go get some ass. You take care of the baby. Like, good luck to you and the baby. I'll see you when I see you. I'll show up when it's time for me to have sex with you. And then the rest of the time, I'm gonna be out living my best life. So I will say to you that when you're talking about this, and I see your comment. Travis makes a good point. He says, "Boys, traumatized people can't recognize these issues." Sadly, well, you know what? I'm gonna beg to differ with you slightly on that. I think that if you're traumatized and you're conscious, then you can't see your own trauma. I like to consider myself a conscious traumatized person. When I took the trauma test, it's called the ACEs test, Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACES. The ACEs test basically said that Boyce is a very traumatized person. That's what the result was. And because I've been kind of educated on trauma and what it does to the body, I've been able to actually try to start addressing that trauma. And I'm very aware of that trauma. I've also learned to be aware of when I have a trauma response to things. And that what I've also learned is it's a constant battle. It's almost like when they say drug addiction is something that never goes away. You're always addicted to the drug. You just take it day by day. Well, trauma is probably similar because I have trauma responses to this day. I have situations where I'll start feeling a certain way, and I have to identify those emotions quickly so I can use the tools provided by my therapist to elevate my consciousness and to disconnect from how I'm feeling in that moment. So your feelings are hurt, you're feeling rejected, you're feeling sad, you're feeling abandoned, whatever your hang up is, and then next thing you know, you have a trauma response. So what a good therapist really does is a therapist helps you to identify it through self-awareness, and then to engage in specific steps that will keep you from making short-sighted decisions that have long-term consequences. Like I'm going to kick this man out of my house because I'm feeling this way right now, or I'm going to go and buy and spend all this money at the mall because my shopping addiction helps me deal with a certain kind of pain or whatever. Just like the same way a drug addict decides to hit, you know, to snort something because they're having a certain feeling that's triggering their drug use, right? Their self-medication. We self-medicate through some of our trauma responses because we're in pain, and in specific moments may bring specific pain and specific stress. And so awareness and consciousness can really help you with that. So I would encourage anybody who wants to do better, practice these things. Like, this information's out there. Like, at the convention, we're going to have a ton of therapists there, and medical doctors and attorneys and estate planners and financial experts, and just all kinds of people from all different backgrounds. And I would encourage you to come in that space. And it's a very good space, very productive. If you want to join us at the convention this year, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. We're going to be in Chicago, Illinois, October 25th through the 27th. So if you'd like to join us, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, one thing I want to mention too is apparently Revolt TV is doing some sort of debate or something, and Angela Stanton King invited me to participate. It's going to happen around the same time as InvestFest, so I figured since I'm down in Atlanta, I might as well pop into InvestFest too. Also, Dr. Ken Harris is holding a conference for the Black Business League, which is pretty amazing. I'm going to find out how you guys can get tickets to that. Dr. Ken Harris is one of the great leaders in this country in terms of Black men that are just doing the damn thing. He's got a PhD in economics from Michigan State University. He takes business delegations, very large business delegations, to Africa regularly to establish trade routes to Africa. He's one of my good friends. I respect him tremendously. And these are the types of men and women that really define what Black leadership is all about. Black leadership in my world does not show up in the form of some rapper who hates his mother, who tells you how great it is to sell drugs and kill people and waste all your money. Like, that to me is sad. But Dr. Ken Harris is the kind of guy that really, really cares about our community and our economics. And he's having a conference in Atlanta around the same time as InvestFest, the same time as the Revolt thing. So I think a lot of things are happening in Atlanta at that time. So I'm going to pop in and just kind of, check the vibe. And I love them all. I love all of it. And I really think at the end of the day, just circling back, if you want to sort of really get to the root of a lot of these economic issues, these relationship issues, I encourage you to look into the economics. I think that once the Black man has established his place on the throne as the economic champion that he is meant to be, by taking the time to be as financially intelligent as he is good at basketball and rapping and all these other stupid things that they make us do to entertain white people. I think that that's when you're going to see Black families get stronger. That's when you're going to see Black marriages start to rise. Most men don't, in my view, in my experience, don't feel comfortable getting married if they're not financially secure. So if you produce more financially secure, more conscious, more intelligent Black boys who've been trained to be strategic in their thinking, Black boys who understand that the traps that are set for them, Black boys who don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, you're going to find more Black men who are similar to the men that I've seen on this trip to Egypt, who have it together, who are doing their best, who are making money, who are providing for their families, who are doing wonderful things with their lives. And it all really comes down to avoiding the monkey shit culture. That's it. So the monkey shit culture is designed to keep the Black man as a boy. A grown ass woman can't marry a little boy. You need to marry a man. Some of y'all marrying little boys with beards. These are 9-year-olds, with large penises, and you somehow think that these are men because they look like men on the outside, but nobody ever made them a man on the inside. So I think that the same way you manufacture Teslas on the assembly line, the same way Smith & Wesson manufactures more guns than there are people, the same way Lockheed Martin manufactures weapons, we need to manufacture men. We need to manufacture quality women. We need to manufacture intelligent Black people. We need to manufacture conscious Black people. We need to manufacture Black people who are not scared. We need to manufacture Black people who are truly free and independent enough in the mind and in the bank account that they're not running around here simply doing goofball stuff just because white people told them to do it. This is something that I believe is certainly possible, and I believe it's going to eventually happen. If not, I'm going to simply repeat it until the day I die, and hopefully someone will continue to repeat it after I'm gone, because that is our leeway. That is our light at the end of the tunnel. That is our opening through the defensive line. That is how we're going to become great again. So if you are with me, if you agree with me, then I welcome you to join us at the All Black National Convention in Chicago. It's going to be October 25th through the 27th in Lombard, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. It's been very successful. It's very popular. Lots of people want to come. We're going to sell out. We always do. And so if you'd like to join us and you are solution oriented and you're family oriented and you're oriented toward our people and you believe that Black leadership starts with us, then feel free to join us at the All Black National Convention. So it's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's the URL. It's going to be amazing. And then at some point, we're also going to start doing more of these trips to Africa, because I can tell you being in Egypt has been truly transformative. And I'm really embarrassed that I hadn't been to Egypt before. But guess what? Give me 2 years and I'll be able to name at least another 7 to 10 African countries that I visited in that time, because this is where I'm personally trying to grow myself, because ain't none of us got this all figured out. So anyway, I'm going to get on out of here, guys. God bless you. Quick reminder, if you want to join us for the Black Investors Championships in the Black Business School, you can sign up at blackinvestorscup.com. The Black Investors Championships, everybody gets $50,000 put in fake money in your account, and may the best investor win. Everybody gets to buy stocks, and it's a 6-week competition. It starts on August 19th, and it ends 6 weeks later. And the winner will get lifetime access to the Black Business School, and they will also have the Black Investors Cup. It's engraved and it's beautiful, and I'm going to mail it right to your house. So you get to say you are the Black investment world champion. So if you would like to participate, you can go to blackinvestorscup.com. The URL is right there on the screen. Last but not least, if you'd like to join us every morning, we do financial consciousness training. If you'd like to join us for consciousness training let's say Tuesday morning. I keep saying tomorrow morning but I keep forgetting I'm in Egypt and my clock is all backward. In fact, it's almost 7 a.m., so I got to get out of here to go eat breakfast, believe it or not. But if you'd like to join us, just text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948, and you can join us. And I guarantee you it will change your life. I only ask you, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to pay any money. Just pay attention. Basically is me as a finance professor sharing as many cutting edge ideas and concepts on economics that I possibly can, in the hopes that it helps you and your family to make stronger, more informed economic decisions. And so if you want to join us, just hit that text number to the word morning to 87948. Or if you live overseas, you can go to drboyceelevate.com. And the only thing I ask is that you bring your family, because I think that these journeys are easier if you have other people that participate with you. It's easier when you're not having to be a lone wolf. It's easier when you got a tribe. And so you are part of my tribe, and I appreciate you for being that. And I'm part of your tribe, but also I want you to build a tribe around you of intelligent Black people, because these are the people that are going to keep you going when everyone else is trying to feed you monkey shit culture. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. God bless you. I know this has been an especially long conversation, but I had a lot on my mind, and I hope that this discussion was beneficial for you. And I'm going to say I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.